안녕하십니까. 인물 포커스. 오늘은 아주 특별한 손님을 모셨습니다. 이스라엘은 세계 각국에서 창조 경제의 성공적 대표 모델 국가로 알려져 있습니다. 우리 박근혜 정부 역시 이스라엘을 창조 경제 롤모델로 삼고 있는데요. 그래서 오늘은 이스라엘에서 창조 경제 모델을 성공시킨 요즈마 그룹의 이갈 에를리히 회장을 모시고 이스라엘 창조 경제의 성공 비법 그리고 한국식 창조 경제를 실현하기 위한 조언을 들어보는 시간을 마련했습니다. Mr. E를리히, welcome to Korea. How many times have you been to Korea?
This year is my first time. I have been before, but during 2013, this visit is my first.
How do you like it?
Well, I like to come because first, it's different than Israel. People are different, and the atmosphere is a little bit a change from what we have in Israel. I like to talk to people here. People are, having more interest in what we are doing. They have the curiosity to know better about Israel. And I believe it's something that show, some good affinity to our country.
Yes. On August 27th, Yozma Forum was held. What was it about?
Well, we decided to have a forum here in order to give the Korean people or the Korean companies to know more about Israel, about the environment in Israel, to create startups companies. And we try to to create here, kind of environment that we have in Israel, because your new policy, the president policy, is to have a creative economy. And one thing which is very important is to create the environment and to show what we did during the last 20 years.
Israel is famous for venture startups. The Yozma Group played a big role for this. What's the environment for business startups like in Israel?
Well, we are considered to be, after the United States, maybe the best ecosystem for startups. We built it during the last 20 years. Yozma started the venture capital in Israel, which is financing of small companies mainly, which is very important. Without financing, new companies cannot start. And during these 20 years, more funds came to Israel. More international funds started to invest in Israel. And we also have many big companies started to have interest in Israel and having their R&D centers and other activities in Israel. So all this create a very good environment for new entrepreneurs. And as you know, in Israel, the entrepreneurship spirit is very strong.
When did the venture startup boom start in Israel, and how did it begin?
Well, it started in the beginning of the 90s. We had before that also many companies that try to start their own ideas, but based on technology, it was very difficult. There was lack of financing and lack of experience for the people to know how to manage companies and how to develop products for the world market. And at that time, the government decided that there is a need for more financing to companies. And that was the idea behind establishing a government company called Yozma, which the mission was to create the venture capital industry. So Yozma started by creating 10 small funds, venture capital funds, together with international players, international experience fund, and local companies. And these funds started to invest in new companies.
I heard that the Israel government provides funds for venture companies. How is it done?
Well, as I told you, it started through government money into the Yozma venture capital that used the money to leverage private money to create more funds. And in Israel, there is also an office of the chief scientist for the government, which is an organization that fund projects in companies, including small companies, new companies. So if you are a new company, you can afford your request to the office, and if you can show that this is innovative idea, and you have the ability to to sell it, to sell the product, to commercialize it, then you can get a matching fund for your money.
I am aware that the Israeli government has a separate organization promoting venture business policies. Could you tell us about it?
Yes, I started to tell you a minute ago about this organization. It's called the Office of the Chief Scientist. It's not only policies, it's also this office can fund projects. So this office today, for instance, have a budget of about $400 million per year. And with this money, they can give the money to projects in companies, all type of companies, small companies and also medium-sized, even big companies. If you have an innovative idea and you want to develop it, you can come to this office, show what you have. You have to convince the office that you have a good idea and you can commercialize it. And then you can get up to 50% of the cost of the project you want to develop. And it is important that to understand that the money goes not to the company, but to the project of the company. So it's not something that the government become involved in the company, just what we call the out of the balance sheet financing.
One key to Yozma's success was getting private funds. How is the role of government and the private sectors divided?
Well, the story of Yozma, as I started to tell you before, was that we did not have any venture capital in Israel. So we thought that in order to begin in the right way and not make mistakes, we should start with people who is experienced. And the experienced people were not in Israel. So we started to look for them in other funds that were in the US and in Europe, and to convince them to come and take part together with us and with a local private partner to establish new funds. And the work to convince them was not easy. They had to understand, that in Israel there are companies that you can invest in and you can make money. And the other, still the government gave them also some incentives to come. And that was the way that we convinced 10 groups like this to start their funds in Israel.
How big is Israel's venture capital now?
We started with 10 funds. By the way, we did it during 2 years, so it was fast. And then immediately we had a market of about $200 million for investments in small companies. Because these funds were successful, they could raise more money after that. And also other funds started to come. So very fast, in the first 5 and 10 years, at the maximum we had about 50 new venture capital funds. And the market of all these funds started to raise a lot of money. And the investment today, in startups by venture funds are about $2 billion a year.
Really?
$2 billion a year.
Yeah.
The money comes from Israeli venture funds, but also from foreign venture funds. And what is very interesting here is that I think more than 80% of the money is non-Israeli money.
Wow.
All the funds raise the money outside of Israel. So the Israeli institution, Israel is small, this institution don't invest too much in venture capital, but foreign institutions like to invest in Israel because they can make some nice return, and they are more than 80% of the financing of companies in Israel.
Many countries want to become a foundation for venture companies like Israel. What is Israel's secret?
There is no secret. I can tell you all the secrets we have. The question is not the secret. Of course, it's what we call the ecosystem. Everything should be in place. So we have human resources, good people. That you have the infrastructure, universities, institutions to make research. We have the defense institutions, who is very big contributor to Israeli technologies. And we have the entrepreneurs, which is very important. In Israel, there is a very strong entrepreneurial environment. So many people, maybe it's not like Korea, many people are ready to take risk, and they are ready to start companies, and they are not afraid to fail. If you fail in Israel with a company, it doesn't mean it's your end. You can start again.
Yes.
So all this environment, help to have more companies. And once the companies can succeed, which we call it, we have a success story. So success stories of companies bring more investors, bring more activity to the country. And this is something that many countries like to replicate, which of course it's not easy to replicate. Each country is a different, different conditions, different environment. Yeah. But the basics of what we did in Israel, what we do in Israel, can be duplicated.
Major global companies, including the U.S., had set up R&D center in Israel. That must mean Israel's human resources are highly regarded. Maybe Israel's education helped the rise of the venture industry?
Well, yes, I believe that the education, especially the technical education, is very strong in Israel. Our engineers consider to be very good.
Very good.
But yeah, they are not only good in knowing the engineering, but they are very innovative in their thinking, which is important. And the multinationals that are coming here know that they are good human resources, but they are coming here also because of the idea and the initiative of these people to come with new ideas. So that is why you see many international companies in Israel. But by the way, before the 90s, the years 90s, I think there were less than 10 multinationals that understand that in Israel you can have research for not a high cost and to do it exactly as you can do it in America. But what happened after the 90s is that because the environment was changed and there was more financing for startup companies, and we had many more startup companies with good ideas, the big companies from the US started to buy local companies. But they not only bought them, they also continued to keep it as their research center and expand it. So after the 90s, as I said before, we had maybe 10 like this. Today we have 300. Most of them came through acquisition of a small Israeli company, and they are looking not only for the technology, they are looking, of course, for the people, for the human resource that we have.
Oh, that's very impressive.
Yeah.
On June, the Ytn Group's world first branch is in Korea. Why did you choose Korea?
Well, you know that in February, I think, when the new president in Korea started its term, the policy of Korea was a little bit changing. And Korea declared about a creative economy.
Yes.
And the creative economy, which fits to Israel, you know, what we have there, attracted our attention, of course, to see what can we do together.
Yes.
Now, we know we have long relations with Korea. We appreciate very much the achievements of Korea. Your economy is very strong. You are very well known for the efficiency of your companies and the ideas of your big companies. But we saw that, you know, once you decided to do more for small companies, maybe we can cooperate and we can contribute from our experience to Korea. And on the other hand, we can learn from you, of course, how to make from small companies, as we have in Israel, big companies, as you have in Korea.
What is the role of the Korea branch?
Well, we decided to have a branch here because of these reasons. You know, first of all, because of the Korean policy. Secondly, because we thought that we can have cooperation with Korean companies, small and big ones. We can have mutual interest. And also we found the right guy, who, Mr. Won-jae Lee, who has a very big experience in Israel and also in Korea. And he has a good network. And we thought that together with him, we can find the right ideas in order to cooperate with Korea.
Did Ytn directly fund the Korean branch?
We saw that Korea branch should be independent, you know, justify its existence.
Yeah.
And we hope that it can be, at the beginning, of course, it's at the beginning is always take time, and especially in Korea, you know, nothing is moving fast. But I hope that this office can be, you know, independent and have its own income and own business.
There has been Korean government policies for company startups in the past, but it was not very successful. What were the problems and how can it become better?
In Korea, you mean?
Yes.
Well, I'm not sure I know what happened in the past and why it was not successful. But I can tell you that after discussion here with people and with government people, I understand that maybe in Korea you have two major obstacles that you have to think about. One of them, of course, is is a more cultural problem. You know, people do not take too much risk; they're afraid to fail. So you don't, you know, new ideas are risky, and sometimes if you fail, you have to know that you can start again, and it's not exactly the environment in Korea. I believe that by more activities of entrepreneurship, as we try to transfer the spirit here, may change it, but the government need to take maybe more steps to do it. And also, you know, I thought that maybe Korea is, for small companies, is too closed, you know, is not open to the world. And according to our experience, working with international groups is very effective. So you create your network in this way. It's not only you have, you know, partners from US or from Europe. These partners give you not only their experience, give you their network. So the success of Israeli companies, you know, to go to stock exchanges, to go to big companies that acquire them, is very much due to the network that we have with through the venture funds and through other connection with these people which are not Israeli. So here, I don't see it too much. So I think that, you know, the combination of local people together with foreign experience funds, good funds, could be better for
Yes.
success, and that is what we can, how we can help and what we can bring to Korea.
Thanks for advice to Korea. Do you have anything you'd like to say future Korea ventures yours?
Well, you know, there are several fields in the future which may be good to look at it now. And I know that Korea has an interest now in the medical field and maybe also in the energy, alternative energy. Also, you are now starting to be strong in the media. But you know, in order to develop new companies, new technology, it's a lot of effort. And I believe that with the right steps and with the right means, including financing, and having the policy of encouraging startups. By the way, I think it should be in a way with cooperation with the big companies, not to do it as one against the other. It should be in a way in cooperating with the big ones and find a way that Korea can initiate new technologies, because I'm sure that you have this power in the university and institutions. And in the future, I think you can look for good things to happen.
Thank you for your advice and have a nice day in Korea.
Thank you
very much.
Mr. Han.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
네, 우리와 비슷한 배경과 환경을 가진 이스라엘이 이처럼 세계적인 창업 국가로 발전할 수 있었던 원동력은 과연 무엇일까요? 바로 이 실패를 두려워하지 않는 창업 문화가 아닐까 싶습니다. 요즘화는 시작이란 의미를 가진 히브리어라고 합니다. 창조 경제를 위해 한국에도 한국만의 요즘화가 필요하지 않을까요? 인물 포커스 여기서 인사드립니다. 고맙습니다.